So how do you know if being a landlord is the right way for you to make a ton of money off of properties as an asset? Should you go for that, or should you perhaps go for something easier and simpler like REITs if you want exposure to real estate? Let's dig into it. I have a few points up on screen here just to give structure to this talk. And I'm going to go over a few personal examples using some friends of mine who have done great success in properties, and sharing some examples on how I discovered that being a landlord is definitely not for me. And you can see if you fall into the category of being like yours truly at Bullnova, or being more handy and having the people skills required like some of my friends do. Alright, so starting off, every market is different, You gotta have that financial stability, and you gotta have that plan in place. In my case, I've looked at the numbers many times. I've done the analysis very recently in Dublin, and most people here, I hear them talk about this in the sauna, I hear people talk about this at work. How come I can pay 1,800 euros a month in rent, but the bank won't give me 1,500 for mortgage and, this interest and amortization payment? Well, a mortgage and interest is the minimum that you pay. Rent is always the maximum. Because if something breaks in your apartment and you're the landlord, or you live there, then you are responsible for fixing this. So like when the oven glass broke for me recently in my property in Dublin, then landlord's responsibility. They come out, fix it. They fix the floors, and they've been fixing stuff from time to time. This happens. And one rule of thumb that can be good just to do calculation is 1% of property value in maintenance and repair. This can be very costly. It will be more costly if you need to hire a handyman. It can be less costly if you have the ability to do the repairs yourself. One of my good friends that I got to know in university, he used to move into a bad apartment in Stockholm. He would fix it up, sell it, move into another bad apartment, fix it up, sell it. He did this 3 to 4 times during our stay. Today he has his own company installing solar cells, so a very handy person. And being a landlord, being a flipper in this case, working with properties, it works excellently for him because he has this skill. He has this skill of being a problem solver when it comes to repairing and fixing up properties. And that's going to give him greater margin. You have to go down in margin if you have to hire somebody to do this. And when it comes to the people skill part of the equation of being a landlord, well, you can do it yourself or you can outsource it once again. In my first property that I rented, as a renter in Dublin, lived there together with a co-worker from Google at the time. They used a service to rent out, and they would charge 1 month's rent to fill that property with us as tenants in this case, and to just do these repair checks. They would come once every half year or something like that. Not really sure what they did, but alright, then your margin goes down again. So if you're using both a tenancy agency for managing tenants and you're using handyman for all of the repairs, well, then margin goes down by a lot. If you do it yourself and deal with all of this hassle, well, then you might have greater margins. And once again, it also depends on if you do a good deal here. In some cases, some markets, it's going to be overvalued, and in other markets, you can still make a great deal. We all live in different places with different property markets in this case. All right, so how do you know if you have the people skills, for example? Well, if you have a first-hand contract on your apartment, you could try to, for example, rent out one of the rooms. I've done this myself. I've done the screenings, just finding a person to live with you as a flatmate. In that case, you can do it if the landlord is okay with you renting one of the rooms. In many cases they are, but make sure that they are. And then you can see, do you actually enjoy the people skills part of the process? Do you actually enjoy basically interviewing people, looking at the documents, the proof of income in some cases? And I see the meme here, proof of income, and somebody send, a spread where they just sit with a bunch of dollar bills. This haven't happened to me, but, just take a look at the regular proof of income and see, all right, is this a stable tenant? And trying to figure out if they will trash the place, take good care of it, will they be nice to live with, this kind of thing. That's one way that you can try out those people skills and understand if you have that key skill that's required to be a good landlord, basically. And not easy. I certainly learned that I do not enjoy this process. Some people might do. Perfect. Well, then you can make more money being a landlord. And some people might not. Well, it's going to eat into your margin if you outsource it. Same with, the repair side of things. And then also financial stability in this case. I think it's important to speak more around the financial plan when you buy this property. I've seen some people buy in cash in Dublin, for example, no need for a mortgage in that case, and they get different calculations. Some people might buy with zero cash down on some sort of crazy government scheme, if they're in the American market. We've all heard about the ninja loans that was prevalent back in the day before the housing crisis. A lot of people got wiped out there. In Sweden, we saw a property crisis in the 80s, for example, and the current CEO of Wallenstam Properties, he wrote a book about that, and who actually made it out of that crisis and who went under, basically. So there's a lot of things going into it, but just to tie back to how you can check this out for yourself, try the people skill side of it, try renting out a room in your first-hand contract to see if it's for you. Try doing a bit of repairs, maybe help out a friend who's doing something on their property, or a relative or something like this. See if you actually enjoy doing repairs. And if both of those skills are a check, well, then in my opinion, from a risk to reward ratio, then it's more likely that you will get a greater reward with lesser risk from being a landlord. And if you have poor skills in these areas, well, then it's more risky, and perhaps you should look at REITs instead, where you have a professional management team who handles the day-to-day of the business, doing the negotiation with banks to get the leverage, maintenance, repairs, making sure there's tenants in the property, and then you can just sit back, relax, collect the dividends, basically the rent payments in this case, and own property, have exposure to property as an asset without all of the hassle that comes with it. Alright, that's been it for this video, talking a bit about how to know if being a landlord is right for you. And as always, hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now, bye bye.